Welcome to FolkFear, where forgotten rituals, ancestral curses, and haunted folklore breathe beneath the surface of everyday life. If you're drawn to stories soaked in dread, ancient traditions, and the kind of horror that crawls into your bones and never leaves, this is your home. Tonight's tale will take you deep into the soil of a rain-drenched village where the loss of a single baby tooth awakens something buried long ago. A mother breaks tradition, a child grows strange, and beneath the floorboards, something begins to chew. This is The Teeth Beneath, a horror story rooted in Southeast Asian and Balkan folklore, where protection is a ritual and forgetting is a fatal mistake. Turn off the lights, press play, and whatever you do, don't throw your teeth away.
The rain hadn't stopped for 7 days. Not a storm, not a downpour, just a cold, endless drizzle that soaked into the bones of the nameless village. It made the thatched roofs sag, the bamboo walls swell, and the moss between stones grow thick and wild like veins beneath skin. No one called the place by name anymore. They only referred to it in whispers, the wet earth. And everyone who lived there knew you didn't dig into wet earth without permission, because beneath the surface were not just bones, but history. And history here knew how to bite back. Inside a crooked house at the far edge of the village, the air smelled of burning roots and old sickness. On a woven cot lay grandmother Irska, her skin the color of ash, her lips cracked and trembling, her eyes rolled back like she was listening to something far away. "She's looking for the name," whispered one of the old women who knelt beside her. "She doesn't have much time," said another. "She needs to speak it before it dies with her." But the person she waited for, her only daughter, wasn't coming. She lived in the city now, with a concrete apartment, electric fans, and a daughter of her own. She had left the village long ago, laughing at the old ways. She hadn't returned a single call, not when the coughing began, not when the fever came. And now there was nothing left for her to return to, except a name she had long forgotten. The old women wept softly, because they knew what was coming. Once every child in the village followed the same ritual. When a child lost their first tooth, it was not thrown away, nor placed under a pillow for coins. It was buried under the threshold of the home, where the inside met the outside. The mother would prick her finger, let her blood touch the tooth, and then whisper a secret name, known only to her and the child. That name was not the name on paper. It was older. It was given before language. And it was never spoken again. Not aloud, not written, not remembered in full. Only whispered once. Because the ritual didn't celebrate growth. It was protection, a pact. Without it, something beneath the soil would wake. Something hollow, something old. They called them the Hollow Ones. Mouths with no eyes, bodies with no voice. Creatures who had once been denied birth and now waited to borrow what had been freely given. And the teeth, oh the teeth, were the only things they could not grow. So they took them, unless you offered one first. Grandmother Irska coughed, not like a person, like a tree snapping at the root. Her hand twitched toward the underside of her cot. One of the old women reached down and pulled out a rusted iron box. Inside it, a yellowed cloth, a folded page of race paper, and 4 teeth, adult, smooth, their roots curled like they had been pulled not with force, but with obedience. The old woman bowed her head. Too late. Miles away, in a bright apartment full of toys and cartoons, a little girl named Mira spat her first baby tooth into the sink. Her mother, Anna, laughed. "Wow, that's a big one," she said, reaching for a tissue. "You're growing up fast, sweetie." Mira didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just stared at the tiny white thing in the sink like it didn't belong to her. Anna wiped her mouth. "Well, I guess no tooth fairy in this house," she chuckled, tossing the tooth into the trash bin. It landed softly among bits of lettuce and yesterday's noodles. The plastic bag crinkled closed. Done. Mira watched it disappear, and for the first time in her short life, she whispered something under her breath. A sound, not a word. It echoed in the back of her throat like it had been waiting there for generations. That night, Anna dreamt of the village, the old house, the soft soil beneath the door. She saw her mother kneeling over a shallow hole, holding Anna's own baby tooth between trembling fingers, whispering into the ground. Anna had forgotten that memory. She had forgotten the name her mother spoke, but the soil had not. She woke at 2:14 a.m. There was a sound under the floorboards. Knocking. Not loud, not rushed, just 3 soft, deliberate knocks from the center of the room. She lay still, holding her breath. Then came the chewing, wet, rhythmic, hungry. She sat up, heart racing. The sound stopped. She checked the kitchen, the windows, the hallway. Nothing. Mira's door creaked open. The girl stood there, barefoot, eyes wide, silent. Anna swallowed. "Did you hear that?" Mira nodded slowly. "They're here now," she whispered. Anna blinked. "Who?" But Mira only turned around, and under the floor, something smiled.
The trash was taken out the next morning. Anna, still half asleep, tied the bag with a practiced motion and walked barefoot across the apartment corridor to drop it down the garbage chute. Her phone buzzed with early work emails. Mira sat on the sofa, legs drawn up, staring at the window where rain dripped slowly down the glass like fingers dragging across a mirror. Anna didn't notice. She was thinking about daycare pickup, a meeting with clients, and whether she had remembered to defrost the chicken. Not teeth, not rituals, certainly not what her mother used to call blood anchoring. She had grown up with stories, stupid, frightening stories. How her own tooth, when she was little, had been buried in the mud under their wooden door. How her mother had mixed a drop of blood with it, whispering something that sounded like a prayer but darker, like a warning to something that might be listening. Back then, it had scared her. Now, it embarrassed her. Backwards superstitions, she'd call them. All that old crap, burying teeth like we're cavemen. So when Mira's first baby tooth came loose, Anna didn't hesitate. No threshold, no whisper, no blood. Just a small plastic bag with the rest of yesterday's trash, sealed and forgotten. But something hadn't forgotten. That night, Mira didn't eat dinner. She didn't speak. Her mouth remained slightly open, like she was feeling something inside, something that moved without her. "Is your new tooth hurting, sweetie?" Anna reached to check. Mira flinched.
Okay, I won't touch. We'll go to the dentist if it gets worse." But Mira only turned and looked at her. That look again, distant, ancient, like she wasn't seeing her mother anymore, but something behind her. Anna pulled her hand back, unsettled. The rain continued tapping at the windows, soft and insistent. At 2:11 a.m., Anna woke up to the sound of knocking. Not at the door, under it. At first she thought she was dreaming. She lay still, listening. The sound came again, 3 soft knocks from beneath the floor, directly under her bed. Not on the wall, not from the neighbor upstairs, under. She got up, heart beating a little too fast. She tiptoed through the dark hallway, passing the photos on the wall. Mira's baby picture, a framed handprint from preschool, a drawing of a house with a sun, though the sun had no face, no eyes. The knocking followed her, slow and steady, like it was tracking her footsteps from beneath. In the kitchen, she flicked on the light. Nothing. She checked the pipes. No leaks, no loose boards. She told herself it was the building, old plumbing, maybe a rodent. She never once looked under the threshold, because something inside her still remembered the warning, even if she mocked it. The next morning, Anna stood at the mirror brushing her hair when she heard Mira whispering in the other room. Finally, she had been silent since the tooth fell out. Anna leaned close to the cracked bedroom door and listened. At first, she thought she was playing, but the voice wasn't quite hers. It was low, wet, croaking, not playful but rhythmic, like someone reciting something they didn't understand, yet still remembered, like a chant. "Mira, who are you talking to?" Silence. She opened the door. Mira sat cross-legged on the floor, her hands resting on her knees, mouth slightly open. Her gums were bleeding. Anna rushed to her. "Baby, what happened?" Inside the small mouth, something was coming in, not out. The new tooth had broken through, but not forward like normal. It had pierced backward into the gum, curving toward the throat. Anna recoiled. She grabbed her phone, called the dentist. The soonest appointment was 3 days away. Mira didn't care. She just watched her mother, lips twitching. "Who taught you those words?" Anna asked. "You did." "No, her voice caught. "I never said that. Those weren't words. That wasn't English or Vietnamese or anything I've ever—" "You said them before I was born," Mira whispered. "When you were little." Anna froze. There was no way Mira could have known that. Not the way her grandmother used to kneel and mutter something over the buried tooth. Not the way her mother had locked the door afterward and cried. Not that name no one had dared repeat. Anna shook herself. "It's just imagination, just something she picked up online, TV, YouTube, some creepy game." But even as she said it, her fingers trembled. She walked back into the kitchen, stopped. The trash bag she'd thrown out 2 days ago, the one with Mira's tooth, sat in the middle of the floor, soaked, dripping, torn open. Nothing else was touched. Only one thing was missing: the tooth. She stared at it for a long time. That night, the knocking came again, but this time it moved, from the hallway floor to beneath Mira's room to just under Anna's feet. And then, chewing, soft, wet, patient, the sound of something eating with too many teeth in too small a mouth, and from Mira's room came that voice again, the whisper, repeating a name Anna hadn't heard in 20 years. A name her mother had warned her never to speak, never to teach, never to forget. She had done all three. The chewing hadn't stopped. It came every night now, under the bed, behind the wall, sometimes from the drain. It wasn't loud. That's what made it worse. It was intimate, intentionally quiet, like it wanted to be heard. Just enough. Anna tried recording it. Nothing. She put her phone against the floorboards, turned up the mic gain, waited. Nothing. Only when she turned it off would the chewing return. Soft. Wet. Closer. Mira wasn't eating. Her second tooth had come out on its own. No pain, no blood. It just dropped onto her pillow like a pearl from a dying clam. No explanation, no discomfort. Her daughter simply looked at it and said, flatly, "It's not mine." Anna had placed it in a Ziploc bag this time, sealed, hidden, locked in a kitchen drawer. It vanished within hours. The spiral of fear was tightening, and so, with no one else to turn to, Anna did what she swore she never would. She went back to the village. The bus ride took 6 hours, then another hour by motorbike taxi. The road was narrow, overgrown. At some point, the asphalt stopped. Mud took over. The rain was waiting, just like before, light, steady, and endless. The village looked the same, maybe smaller, maybe darker. She wasn't sure if it was the buildings or her memory that had rotted. The old woman who opened the door was not her grandmother, but she looked like she could have been. Her skin was paper, her fingers thin and curled like dried roots. Her eyes, too still. "Anna," she said, as if the name had always been waiting on her tongue. Anna didn't respond. The woman stepped aside. Inside, the house smelled of betel nut, old wood, and something iron. A single candle burned near a wall covered in faded pictures, children with missing teeth, faces blurred by time or something more deliberate. "You threw away the tooth," the old woman said. Anna swallowed. "How do you know that?" The woman didn't blink. "It's not the first time." Anna sat. Why does it matter? Why bury it under the door? Why the blood? Why the chant? The woman's lips barely moved. "Because the earth remembers. Because we made a deal, and the deal had rules." Anna waited. The woman reached under the table, pulled out a cloth-wrapped bundle. Inside, a bone needle, stained red, a tiny ceramic bowl, and a single yellowed tooth tied with string. "This is the debt anchor. Every first tooth, every first drop of blood, it seals the soul to the threshold. It tells the ones beneath, this child is claimed, this body belongs. Without it," her voice grew thin, "they come to collect what's owed." "Who are they?" Anna asked, too harshly. The woman looked at her, slow and grave. "The ones who were never born, the ones who were taken too early, the ones traded for rice during the famine. Our ancestors gave them up. In exchange, they lived, but they made a vow that every firstborn's tooth would be buried, marked with blood, hidden under the house, so the ones beneath would sleep." Anna's hands trembled. "And if someone forgets?" The candle flickered. They wake hungry. They come for what was promised, a mouth, a voice, a body. The chewing returned in her memory. But Mira, she's not even from here. We live in the city. We're not part of this anymore. You are, she said. Blood remembers. It doesn't care where you go. Anna shook her head. She's changing. She won't eat. Her teeth. She's being taught. They're feeding her the chant. They've been waiting under your house, waiting to be let in. And you threw away the key. There was silence. Rain tapped on the roof like fingers drumming bone. The woman took the tooth in her hand, kissed it, and pressed it into Anna's palm. This is not yours. It's hers, the one who came before. Anna tried to speak, but her throat closed. The woman said, "Take it, bury it, save a chant, cut your finger, let the name return." "I don't remember the name," Anna said, panicked. The woman smiled. "You don't need to. She does." Anna left before dark. She didn't look back. She didn't notice the small white teeth embedded in the mud along the village road, half buried in spiral formations. She didn't hear the way the chewing followed her, now from under her own shoes. That night, as she held Mira close and tried to sleep, her daughter opened her mouth and whispered, "Yaziel remembers you."
Anna didn't sleep that night. She lay awake with Mira beside her, the child's breath shallow and rhythmic, but not human. There was something off about the way her chest rose, like something beneath the skin was expanding. Not lungs, but something else learning how to imitate them. Anna's palm still held the old tooth the woman gave her. It felt warm, too warm. At dawn, she crept out of bed and went to the kitchen. The drawer where she'd hidden the second baby tooth was still ajar. Inside, nothing. The bag, the seal, the plastic, all gone. In its place, one thing, a molar. Too large to be Mira's, too smooth to be adult, and at the center of it, a fine spiral, carved like a fingerprint. Anna dropped it, and it bounced once on the tile, then rolled to a stop, always pointing in the same direction, toward the front door. She stared. Then she opened the door and stepped out barefoot into the wet morning. The corridor was empty. The neighbors' doors closed tight. No sound but the soft weeping of the rain dripping from the overhead gutter. She felt it again, the pull, like the tooth was leading her. Her feet moved without permission. Down the stairs, out the building, to the edge of the small community park beside their apartment complex. Normally green, normally safe, but today, wrong. The grass was flattened, not trampled, pressed into a spiral. Anna moved closer. Her breath caught. The spiral was made of teeth, dozens, maybe hundreds, all white, all smooth, all laid in perfect overlapping formation like scales, forming a path that coiled inwards. At the center of the spiral was a hole, freshly dug, empty. Anna staggered backward. No one else had seen this? She looked around. Cars passed. Birds chirped. A man jogged by with headphones in. No one noticed the spiral of human teeth in the grass. She turned to run. Behind her the rain fell heavier, and under the sound of it came the chewing, but not from her home this time, from beneath the spiral.
Anna forced herself to go back. At home, Mira sat at the table, coloring. Except she wasn't using crayons. She was using her finger, and it was bleeding. On the table was a napkin. On the napkin, in blood, a spiral had been drawn. Not messy, precise. Mira looked up. Her eyes weren't empty. They were full, but not of light, not of childhood. Full of teeth. Anna's scream didn't come out. Mira smiled, and the wound on her fingertip closed on its own. "Did you see them, Mommy?" Anna dropped to her knees. "See what?" "The ones under the ground," Mira whispered. "They're not angry, they're hungry." Anna stood trembling. She grabbed the molar the woman had given her, ran to the door and buried it under the welcome mat. There was no soil, only concrete, so she cut her palm, whispered the chant she barely remembered, something half Balkan, half Vietnamese, something broken, and let the blood drip. Nothing happened. No lightning, no silence, just rain and chewing. That night, Mira lost a third tooth. This one came out in her sleep. She found it under the pillow, curved backward, hollow. She placed it in a cup of salt water. By morning, the cup was gone, and in its place, on Mira's pillow, was a spiral made of molars. And in the center, a tiny, black mouth. Open, breathing. Anna hadn't slept in 2 days. The spiral was still under Mira's pillow. The cup of salt water had vanished, and the black mouth, small, puckered, not quite organic, but pulsing, had disappeared before she could photograph it, like it had never been there. But something remained. The scent. A sharp, metallic, damp earth smell, like soil mixed with spit and rot. It clung to Mira now. No matter how many times Anna bathed her, no matter how much soap, powder, oil, it wasn't on her skin. It was inside her. Mira no longer blinked often. Her eyes stayed open for too long, and when she did blink, it was always slow, as if she were sinking to something older than habit, something underground. Her teeth weren't growing in straight. They weren't even growing down. Anna discovered the truth one morning while brushing Mira's hair. The child yawned, and Anna, by reflex, glanced down into her daughter's mouth. What she saw made her drop the brush. Teeth were sprouting from the roof of her mouth, curling upward, spiraling inward. Not like fangs, not like braces gone wrong. They were blooming, like flowers, but backwards. "Sweetheart," Anna whispered, heart pounding. "Does it hurt?" Mira looked up at her and smiled. And for the first time, Anna saw that the smile was not hers. It was too wide, too many teeth, not in rows, but in rings, like a spiral. The inside of her cheeks bore faint ridges, as if new teeth were forming beneath the flesh, waiting. Anna staggered back, gasping. Mira tilted her head. "Don't worry, Mommy. They're almost finished." "Who's they?" But Mira only looked toward the floor and smiled again. That night, Anna tried to take her daughter to the hospital. She packed a bag, wrapped Mira in a coat, and got her into the back seat of the car. As she turned the key, the engine clicked once, then again, then again. Dead. She cursed, tried again, nothing. A shadow moved across the windshield. She looked up. No one was there, just fog, low, swirling, almost crawling. She turned around. Mira was asleep in the back seat, or pretending. Her mouth moved silently, forming a word. Yazel. Anna left the car. Back inside, she bolted every door. She grabbed the old tooth the village woman gave her and held it like a crucifix. Mira woke around midnight. Anna heard her daughter's small feet pad across the hall. Then, the sound of something being scraped. She rushed to Mira's room. The walls had spirals carved into them, with fingernails. Mira turned slowly, holding up her hand. Her fingernails were gone, worn down to bloody ovals, still smiling. Anna screamed. The sound echoed through the apartment like a bird dying in a sealed box. No one came. No one heard. Rain smeared the windows. And beneath the floor, the chewing returned. Faster now, more eager. Not one set of jaws, many. Anna locked Mira in the bathroom, not to hurt her, to protect her, or herself. She wasn't sure. She called the dentist again. No answer. She tried to video Mira's mouth, but every time she raised the phone, it glitched. The screen went black. The battery drained instantly. Mira whispered through the door, "It's not a mouth anymore." "What do you mean?" "It's a door." Anna sank to the floor, shaking. "What do they want, Mira?" "They want a way out." Her voice was getting deeper, not like a grown woman's, not human. Anna rose and went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, pulled out a hammer. She smashed the tiles under the threshold. Dust and old glue flew. She dug deeper, breaking concrete. Underneath, she expected soil. There was bone and a spiral of teeth. The center had an empty spot, perfectly sized for the tooth in her pocket, the one from the village. She placed it gently, cut her finger, let the blood drip into the spiral. She whispered, "Yazael, Yazael, Yazael." The house groaned. From the bathroom came a scream, not of pain, but of hunger. Anna ran. Mira was standing in front of the mirror. She had pulled her own tongue forward with her fingers. At the back of her throat, a new mouth was forming. It was smiling. Anna fainted. When she woke, the bathroom was empty, but on the wall was a new spiral, drawn in blood and something else, and beneath it, in a child's careful handwriting, "One more to go." Anna sat at the kitchen table, unmoving. The hammer lay beside her, covered in dust and something pale that might have been bone. Her hand still bled slowly from the cut she made beneath the threshold. The bandage wouldn't hold. The spiral had taken something more than blood. It had taken intention. Across the apartment, Mira walked barefoot in silence. She no longer blinked. She no longer ate. She no longer asked. She spoke. But not in words Anna understood. Not anymore. It began that morning, before the sun had fully risen, when Mira stood at the edge of Anna's bed and opened her mouth. "Zer, Yachel, Zadadaim." 3 syllables, half chanted, half growled. The sound curled like smoke. Anna's ears rang. She sat up instantly, nose bleeding. "Mira," she croaked. "What did you say?" Mira tilted her head. "I remembered." "No one taught you that," Anna whispered. "You did. I never... In the blood... Anna froze. Outside, the sky darkened prematurely. Clouds rolled low and fast like ink spreading in water. The air smelled of old metal and ash. Rain hadn't come yet, but the world felt damp, like it had already passed through something wet. Anna walked across the room, heart pounding. She opened a drawer, pulled out a photo album. Inside, a picture of her as a child, 6 years old, a missing tooth, standing beside her mother on the dirt threshold of their old house. She stared at her mother's mouth. It was open, mid-sentence, saying something to the ground. She had forgotten this photo existed. Behind the image, folded tight, was something thin, a piece of brittle, yellowed paper. She pulled it free. Written in jagged script was a single line in a dialect she barely remembered. To speak the name is to unbury the debt. Her hand trembled. She turned to Mira. Say it again. Mira did. Not just the name, the full chant. And this time, the lights flickered, the floor creaked, and beneath the threshold, something shifted, like a body rolling in shallow dirt. Anna fell to her knees. No, baby, don't say it. Don't ever say that again. Mira's voice dropped. You shouldn't have thrown it away. She stared. You knew? Yes, they told me. They sleep in the floor. They breathe through the walls. Anna grabbed her by the shoulders. Tell me what they want. They want their mouths back. She whispered it like it was holy. Anna backed away. She fumbled for her phone, called the priest, no answer, called the temple, no answer. She dialed her mother's old number, disconnected. She turned to Mira again, her daughter standing perfectly still, eyes black and unfocused, mouth slightly open, as if still repeating something beneath her breath. Anna pressed her hand over Mira's lips. The child didn't resist, but something beneath the skin twitched. The new teeth were moving, shifting, curling inward again, forming another spiral. Anna screamed, ran to the hallway, grabbed salt, grabbed garlic, anything. She lined the doorways, poured salt under Mira's bed, hung old prayer scrolls above every window. It didn't matter. The next time Mira spoke, her voice wasn't hers. It was layered. 2, maybe 3 voices speaking at once, like a mouth that had been waiting to talk for centuries and now couldn't stop. Yahzael remembered. Yahzael never buried. Yahzael returned through mouths unclaimed. Then silence, then chewing, not from the floor, but from Mira's chest, a sound that shouldn't exist, a gurgling crunch from inside her rib cage. Anna wept. Please, take me instead, not her. But she already knew. The debt was inherited. Only Mira could pay it, or pass it down again. That night, Anna dreamed of teeth, falling from the sky, raining like hail, piling in the corners of her apartment, growing roots and whispering the same name over and over again. Yahzael, Yahzael, Yahzael. Anna no longer answered the phone. She stopped going to work. The neighbors began to whisper in the elevator, eyes darting toward her door, where a dark cloth now hung from the knob, half moldy, half soaked with dried herbs. No one asked questions. Some of them grew up in similar villages. Some of them still remembered the rules of rain and rot. But it didn't matter anymore. Inside the apartment, time had curled in on itself, days stacked like wet paper, bleeding through one another.
The rain outside never ceased, not heavy, just constant, just enough to keep everything damp, just enough to rot what was once firm. Anna hadn't touched Mira in 3 days, not because she didn't want to, because she was afraid to. Her daughter's body had changed, subtly, then dramatically. Her gums had pulled back, revealing not 2, but 3 rows of teeth. The new ones came in black at first, but turned white the longer they stayed in her mouth. They grew fast, too fast. Some mornings Anna woke to find loose ones on the pillow. They didn't fall out. Mira shed them. And they grew back, different, sharper, bigger, with spiraled roots, like they twisted themselves down into bone. Anna had tried everything. She burned incense. She lit red candles at every corner of the room. She called back to the village, but the line went dead each time she said the name. She even visited a temple and begged the monk to come. But the moment he entered her building, he collapsed. Blood poured from his ears. He never regained consciousness. The guilt was consuming her now. Every second, every knock under the floor, every chewing sound in the drains. Every time Mira whispered something in the old tongue and the walls trembled just slightly. Anna would sit in the bathroom and cry into a towel, not just from fear, from regret, from shame. She had been warned. Her grandmother's stories weren't folklore. They were warnings, instructions. She remembered now. The whispered chant under the old wood threshold. The drop of blood she saw her mother slice from her thumb. The way the soil drank it as if hungry. She remembered asking why it had to be done. Her mother whispered, "To protect you, so your mouth stays yours." Anna laughed, dismissed it, grew up, became someone who threw away her daughter's tooth like it was trash. And now Mira barely spoke. And when she did, it was never in a child's voice. Anna once woke in the middle of the night to Mira standing at the bedroom door, her jaw slowly moving, teeth clicking together in a rhythm. There were 3 distinct voices echoing from her throat. None of them were human. That night, Anna wrote a letter, to no one in particular. Maybe to God, maybe to the dirt, maybe to the ancestors she spat on with her pride. She wrote, "I am sorry. I was wrong. I was arrogant. I mocked what I did not understand. I threw away a key, and now the door has opened. I would give anything, everything to take it back. I will bury every tooth. I will bleed if I must. I will speak the name. I will scream it. Just give her back. Please give her back." When she finished, the lights went out. All of them. The apartment plunged into a darkness so absolute it felt alive. From the shadows, Mira spoke. "I'm still here, Mommy." Anna turned, but the voice came from the wall, then from the floor, then from the ceiling, then from behind her own teeth. "I'm still here, but not for long." And the chewing began. This time, it came from inside the mattress. Anna couldn't move, couldn't scream. She lay on the ground, curled around the letter, sobbing. And the worst part wasn't the fear. It was knowing she deserved every moment of it, because she had forgotten, because she had refused, because she had been warned. The morning after the chewing came from the mattress, Anna made a decision. She would stop begging. She would stop whispering apologies to walls and floors and old gods who no longer listened. She would dig. She didn't own a shovel, but she had a kitchen knife, a broken hammer, and a crowbar. It would do. She began with the living room, the threshold between front door and tile, the place her mother once told her to never sweep without offering incense first, the place Anna had mocked for years as superstitious nonsense. Now it felt warm under her feet, almost pulsing. She peeled up the laminate, piece by piece. It came away too easily. The cement underneath was damp, not from rain, from something below. Anna gripped the knife. She scratched at the cement. It cracked. A faint smell leaked upward. Not sewage, not rot. Soil. Fresh soil. But she lived on the 7th floor. She kept digging. Chip by chip, breath heaving, palms bleeding, until the last layer of concrete gave way and fell inward with a dull pop. Underneath was black dirt, packed tight and wet like something had exhaled through it recently. She reached in. It wasn't far, only a few inches before her fingers brushed something hard. She dug deeper and pulled out a tooth, then another, then 3 at once, linked by sinew as if they had never wanted to be separated. Her breath caught. The teeth were adult-sized, but not adult-shaped. They curled, their roots spiraled inward like screws. She kept digging, and then her fingers struck bone. A small jaw, still hinged, buried sideways, not fossilized, fresh. She yanked it out, screaming, but what came after was worse. Not bones, not skulls, not artifacts. A face, or what remained of one. Mummified skin stretched over cracked teeth. No eyes, only a mouth open in permanent scream. And inside that mouth, more teeth. Rows and rows, stacked like shelves. Anna dropped the crowbar. The soil moved, shifted, whispered. Her blood dripped from her hands into the hole. The dirt drank it. She fell back. The air grew thick. And then, beneath her knees, something grabbed her wrist. Cold, dry, with fingers that had too many joints. She screamed and pulled away, barely escaping. She backed into the wall, sobbing. And then she heard the whisper right behind her ear. The door is open. She turned. No one. But the spiral had begun to form on the floor again, this time in blood and teeth. Mira stood at the hallway's end. No expression. Mouth slightly ajar. From her gums, new teeth pushed forward, not in lines, but in rings, like bark on a tree, each one newer than the last. Anna held up her hand. "Stop," she begged. "Please." Mira blinked. "I told you," she said softly. "They don't want revenge. They want return." "What does that mean?" "They want bodies, mouths, tongues, homes." She pointed to the threshold. "You dug the door. Now they can come through." And beneath the floor, the chewing resumed. Only this time, it wasn't waiting. It was climbing. Anna hadn't stepped near the hole in the floor since it grabbed her. She had shoved an old cabinet over it, lit 3 candles, and sprinkled salt around the edges. Mira hadn't approached it either, but not out of fear, out of indifference, as if they had already moved past needing it. Now Mira spent hours tracing invisible spirals on the wall with her fingernail, whispering, always whispering. And Anna was searching
for anything. A pattern, a history, a way to undo what had been spoken. She tore through old boxes her mother left behind, faded scrolls, birth records, wrinkled photographs where no one smiled. Every child had a missing tooth. Every mother had her face turned away from the camera. Then she found it. A thin leather pouch buried beneath yellowed linens, tied with hair. Not thread, human hair. Anna hesitated, opened it. Inside, a small, crumbling book, pages stiff with age, spotted brown and bone white. No ink, just a fine grayish powder scraped into the grooves of the paper. It smelled like chalk and something else. Calcium, blood, childhood. She turned the first page. The writing was blocky, uneven, written by hand not used to shaping letters. And at the bottom of every page was a tiny print of a molar, as if stamped with a tooth dipped in ash. The first entry read, "Day 1. My daughter lost her tooth today. It fell into the soup. I almost forgot the ritual. My blood wouldn't drip fast enough. I said the name wrong. I saw something move beneath the door that night." Anna kept reading. Day 4. The floorboards are warm. The soil beneath smells fresh. Her teeth are regrowing in threes. Day 6. She said the name in her sleep, the same one I only whispered once. She said it backward. Day 9. The baby teeth I buried last year have come back. They were outside the front step, arranged in a spiral. They aren't hers anymore. Day 12. I found a spiral carved into her gums. With her tongue. It's not her tongue. Day 15. I made this journal from old paper and bone powder. They said it would preserve the memory. That memory binds them. That forgetting feeds them. Anna turned the page slowly. Day 21. I tried burning her teeth. They screamed. Day 22. I tried giving my own. It wasn't enough. They want hers. Day 25. She smiles with 3 mouths now. Anna's hands shook. The next pages were smeared, unreadable. The last legible entry was short, scrawled, desperate. If you're reading this, you broke the chain. You forgot. You threw it away. Now they're awake, and they are hungry for names. And below it, a drawing, a spiral made of teeth, within which was a face with no features, only a mouth, and inside that mouth, a doorway. Anna closed the book and screamed. Behind her, Mira stood. She was smiling. Blood pooled at the corners of her mouth. I found a journal too, the child whispered. Where? Anna backed away. She pointed to her chest. Here, they're writing it inside me, with every tooth I lose. Anna dropped the pouch, but it didn't hit the floor. It was gone before it landed, like the hole in the ground had swallowed it without being seen. Mira leaned close to her ear. They say you're next.
It began with the walls. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the paint cracked, not from heat, but from pressure behind it, as if the house was being exhaled from the inside out. Anna sat upright, drenched in sweat, as the sound of chewing resumed. Not below the floorboards, not behind the drains, but from within the very structure of her home. The spiral she had drawn in salt around the cabinet had been scattered in the night. The hole was open again. Anna crept toward it, holding a kitchen knife, a lighter, and the tiny red candle she kept lit since reading the journal. As she reached the threshold, she noticed it. The floor was breathing. Not visibly, but if she placed her hand against it, the wood rose and fell, slow, steady, like the chest of a sleeping animal. Only this creature didn't sleep anymore. Mira stood beside her, silent, awake. She was always awake now. Anna whispered, "Are they here?" Mira didn't nod. She opened her mouth and pointed inside. Anna hesitated, then leaned closer. In the back of Mira's throat, beyond the rows of teeth, there was something else now. Not a tongue, not flesh. A dark tunnel, wet, breathing. And from it came the sound. Clawing, scraping, crawling upward. Then it happened. From the hole in the floor, a hand emerged. Gray, thin, elongated fingers with too many joints, nails like root systems, flesh stretched over nothing. Then came the second hand, then the shoulders. The creature had no eyes, no nose, only a mouth that took up half its head, not just wide, but deep, with rings of teeth that rotated slowly, like a meat grinder made of enamel. It didn't look at Anna. It couldn't, but it heard her fear, and it smiled. From behind the creature, more hands rose. Dozens, maybe more. They were not ghosts. They were not demons. They were what had been fed, generation after generation, with bone and name and ritual. And now the chain was broken. They were not here for vengeance. They were here for inheritance. Anna screamed and ran to grab Mira, but Mira was already walking toward them, calm, like stepping into water. "Mira, no!" she shrieked. "They want me, but they want you first." And then it spoke, the thing in the floor, with a voice that came not from lungs, but from every mouth it had ever devoured. "Debt is not denied. Debt is delayed. You buried the promise in trash. We buried the promise in time. Now time is done." The walls cracked further, the ceiling creaked, and from inside the walls, teeth began to emerge. Tiny first, baby teeth, then larger, premolars, molars, all pushing out from the paint, blooming like fungal growth, forming spirals that pulsed and bled. The apartment moaned. Anna turned to run, dragging Mira with her. But Mira didn't resist. She walked, slowly, deliberately, toward the door. "Where are you going?" Anna begged. Mira looked at her and smiled. "To open more doors." Anna lunged, grabbed her daughter's wrist, but something grabbed Anna's ankle. She fell, and from the floor, a hollow one began to crawl over her. Its breath was cold and wet. It leaned in, mouth opening wider and wider, until it was more void than face. Inside that mouth, Anna saw herself, screaming, begging, her childhood, her mother's eyes, the threshold she laughed at, the tooth she threw away, and at the center, the name, Yazael. It spoke it, spat it, swallowed it, and then it said, "You are the door." The teeth closed in. Anna did not die, not yet. The teeth closed in, the hollow one loomed over her, but someone stopped it. Mira. She placed her tiny hand on the creature's wrist and whispered something Anna couldn't hear. The thing froze. Its body twitched. Then it withdrew, slinking back into the soil like smoke turning solid. Anna gasped for breath, crawled to the wall. Mira turned to her. "They won't take you yet," she said. "Not until you remember." Anna stared. "Remember what?" "The chant." "I don't—" "You knew it. You forgot. That's worse than never knowing." Anna's voice cracked. "It was just a prayer, a superstition, a lullaby." "No," Mira said, kneeling beside her. "It was a lock." And then Mira began to chant, softly, calmly, the same words Anna had once heard as a child. Now they came back, in waves, her mother whispering on the night of her first lost tooth, the slice of a knife across her own finger, the blood dripping on the threshold, the soft soil drinking it. And the name, Yazael. It wasn't a name, it was a seal, a barrier, not spoken aloud, but shaped with breath, with blood, with memory. To say it improperly invited attention. To say it without blood opened the gate. To say it without love was the worst of all. Anna trembled. She remembered her mother holding her tight, whispering the chant into her ear, not like a prayer, but like a secret so dangerous it had to be buried in bone. She remembered asking, "Who is Yazael?" Her mother had gone pale and answered, "A child who was never named." Now Mira whispered the truth. Yazael was the first, the one who was promised but never born, a stillborn traded in the famine when the ground was too dry to bury properly. The mother tried to forget, but the soul never left. It grew teeth. It found others. Her skin crawled. They made a pact, Mira continued. Every mother after that would seal her child's first tooth in the ground, in blood, in memory, so Yazael would stay full, stay quiet. And Anna's lips shook, I threw it away. You erased a name. Anna wept. Can I fix it? Mira looked at her, not angry, not sad, but full of something heavier. You can remember it properly, she said, but the price has changed. Anna stood, staggering. What do I have to do? Mira pointed to the wall. The spiral was complete, but at its center a space had been left, empty, waiting. For a mother's tooth, not a child's, a mother's. Anna touched her mouth. Her teeth ached, as if something inside her already knew. From the hole in the floor, Yazael's voice returned, but now it was clear, soft, childlike. Give me what you took from me, it said. Your daughter's name was not enough. Give me yours. Anna collapsed to her knees. She remembered now, the chant, word for word, the way her mother said it, the warmth of blood on earth, the silence that followed. She whispered it into the dirt, her own name, her own blood, the true chant, not just words, but memory, sacrifice, love. The ground quivered. Mira closed her eyes. The chewing stopped. For the first time in weeks, the house was silent. Anna opened her eyes. Mira was smiling. A real smile. Her gums were pink again. Normal. The spiral was fading. Anna breathed. And then, her tooth cracked. Pain surged through her jaw. She screamed. Blood spilled from her mouth. Mira ran to her side. "Mommy?" Anna looked at her, smiled, and whispered, "Now it's sealed."
The silence didn't last. It never does. By sunrise, the spiral on the wall had vanished. But under the bed, under the tiles, under the threshold, the soil still pulsed. Not hungry, not awake, but watching. Anna could feel it, like breath held just beneath the surface. Mira slept for the first time in days, her face calm, her mouth normal. The teeth no longer moved or curled. But Anna knew better. This was not the end. It was an opening, a pause before the next breath. That night, Anna dreamt of a road, a path coiled in mud and bone, stretching down a mountainside, forming a spiral so vast it could only be walked, not seen. At the center, a mound, not a temple, not a grave, something older, made of teeth. She awoke knowing where to go. "Mira," she said softly, "we need to return." The child didn't ask where, she already knew. By dusk they stood once more at the edge of the village. It had changed, or rather, it had reverted. The road was gone, the gravel eaten by moss, the concrete split by roots. There were no birds, no lights, only a trail of scattered molars leading into the jungle, each one facing the same direction, like breadcrumbs for the damned. Anna followed. With each step, the path tightened, the air thickened, and the teeth grew larger. First baby teeth, then premolars, then adult molars, then inhuman, yellowed, grooved, and spiraled, like tusks broken and reburied for centuries. They reached the first gate at midnight. Not a door, a jaw. Carved into stone, two massive mandibles rose from the ground and curved inward like an archway. At its peak, an inscription: "Only the one who broke the vow may walk the spiral back." Anna stepped through. The air shifted. Mira followed, silent. As they descended, the path curled tighter, the ground beneath their feet changing from soil to powdered enamel. It crunched with every step. With every breath, Anna inhaled fragments of forgotten names, chewed memories, bone dust. They reached the first altar. It was a simple stone slab. Atop it lay hundreds of rags, each one soaked with mother's blood, some fresh, some ancient. The wind passed over them and whispered names in languages no longer spoken. Mira touched one. "They remember," she said. Anna knelt. She placed her own cloth, torn from her shirt, stained from her bleeding gums, onto the altar. The wind stopped. The ground rumbled, and the spiral path opened further. They walked for what felt like hours. Time thinned. Reality split. Anna's skin itched with memory. She remembered every child forgotten, every mother who hesitated, every tooth thrown away. And then they reached the spiral mouth. It wasn't a place. It was a being, a creature made of thresholds. Every piece of it was a door that had been left ajar. Its skin was woven from hair and cracked teeth. Its mouth was a tunnel, ringed in generations of molars, each one carved with a name. At its center, a hollow socket, waiting for one final tooth. Anna looked at Mira, then reached into her mouth. With a grimace, she tore loose her last molar. No hesitation, no scream. She placed it in the center. The spiral mouth shuddered, the teeth rotated, clacking like locks tumbling into place. From deep within the spiral, a voice echoed. The chain mends, but the hunger waits. Mira whispered, "It's not over, is it?" Anna closed her eyes. No, but now it's quiet. And for the first time in a generation, the spiral stopped turning. They did not climb back up the spiral. The spiral mouth had sealed behind them. No turning back, only forward, deeper, into the place where memory curdled into curse. The air grew warmer as Anna and Mira stepped into the chamber beyond the altar. The walls shimmered with layers of yellowed parchment, etched not in ink, but in bone powder and blood, fluttering as if breathing. Spirals of teeth embedded into the stone formed great murals, portraits of mothers kneeling, hands bleeding, faces turned to the soil. A voice greeted them, not one they could hear, but one they remembered. It came from the blood, from the root of their teeth. It said, "Before the pact there was hunger, and when hunger took everything, the living fed the dead." Anna stumbled forward, her hand grazing a section of wall. A scene pulsed beneath her fingers. It showed a village, hers, long ago, but burned to bone. The riverbed was dry, the sky blackened. Children lay still beneath mats of straw. And in the center of the mural, a woman, kneeling, holding a stillborn child. Beneath her, a spiral scratched into the ground. Above her, 3 figures, ghostly, hollow-eyed, reaching down, offering her something. Not food, not mercy, but a promise. "We will feed you if you feed us." Anna blinked. Tears rolled down her face. She saw the woman bite her own tongue, saw her mix blood with the child's tooth, saw her whisper a name into the soil, Yamazel. It wasn't the child's name. It was the word she created to bind the pact, to give the dead an anchor, to give the hunger a mouth. And in return, she lived. The crops came back. The sickness stopped. The other mothers followed, one by one. They gave teeth. They gave blood. They gave names never spoken again. It worked for a while, until someone forgot. The mural changed. A crack split down the center. The spirals turned red. The mouths grew wider. The dead began to crawl. "It is not revenge," the voice whispered again. "It is debt." Anna turned to Mira. "We were never cursed," she said. Mira nodded. "We were bought." And every child born after Yamazel carried that weight. It wasn't personal. It was generational math, a lineage taxed in blood, a species surviving by trading a silence that could never be broken. Until Anna threw away the tooth, until the silence shattered, until the mouths opened again. Now they knew the truth. The pact didn't belong to one mother, it belonged to all mothers, to the line of women that traced backward into the dirt. Anna pressed her hand against the final wall, circular, pulsing gently. Inside it was a single line carved in raw bone. "Forget the name, and it becomes you." Anna closed her eyes. "I won't forget again." She took Mira's hand, and together they stepped through the last spiral gate, not to seal the debt, but to carry it, knowing now that some weights are never lifted, only passed down. The chamber beyond the spiral was alive, not in the way of animals or plants, but in the way bones remember pain and walls remember screams. Anna felt it as she stepped through, a pressure behind the eyes, a nausea not in the stomach, but in the soul. Mira walked beside her, silent, her small hand gripping Anna's with unnatural stillness. At the heart of the chamber stood an altar, unlike any before. It wasn't stone, it wasn't wood, it was made entirely of teeth. Not loose, not scattered, fused. Hundreds, maybe thousands, pressed together into a curved slab. The surface shimmered slightly, as if breathing. The spiral symbol pulsed softly at the center, made from milk teeth arranged in perfect concentric rings. Above the altar, suspended in the air by no visible force, hung a single object, a necklace of jawbones, each one etched with symbols, each smaller than the last. At the far end of the chamber, a wall of faces, ancient, hollow, carved from bone. They watched without eyes, judged without mouths. Mira spoke first. "This is where the first mother came." Anna nodded. The voice returned, from the altar, from the walls, from inside Anna's own teeth. The pact was made in desperation. It must be paid in clarity. One mother, one bloodline, one offering. Anna stepped forward. Her breath grew cold. "Tell me what I have to give," the voice whispered. "You already have, but now you must mean it." A blade rose from the altar. It was not metal. It was carved from a single tooth, long, curved, yellowed by age and something older. Anna took it. Her hands didn't shake, not anymore. She looked at Mira. Her daughter's eyes shimmered with tears, but she didn't resist. "Mama, you don't have to." "I do," Anna said. She pulled back her sleeve, carved a spiral into her own arm. Not a cut, a symbol. One rotation for each generation that had passed the debt forward. She let the blood drip onto the altar. The teeth drank. The spiral glowed. The air thickened. The bone wall behind them moaned, a sound like wind through 1,000 empty mouths. Then the voice again. "That was the blood. Now, the name." Anna closed her eyes. She spoke Mira's true name, the one only she knew. The name whispered once on the day of birth, then never spoken again. She spoke it now, with tears, with love, with finality. The spiral flared hot white, and then silence. The bone altar cracked. The wall of faces screamed. The necklace of jaws shattered in the air, and the spiral of teeth collapsed inward like a mouth closing from the inside out. Mira gasped. Her legs gave out. Anna caught her. "Mira! Mira!" Her daughter opened her eyes. Clear, human. "Mama, they're gone," she whispered. Anna wept. They held each other in the dark, surrounded by bone, by memory, by the echo of mothers long dead. But in that moment there was peace. True peace. Not absence of horror, but a breath, taken after it passes. They returned before dawn. Anna and Mira emerged from the spiral path as the sky was still bleeding from its bruised horizon. The village stood still, half drowned in fog. The road back to the apartment complex felt longer now, heavier. Not just because of fatigue, but because something had shifted. The ground was too soft, the silence too full. As they stepped off the bus, Mira looked up. It's spreading. Anna didn't need to ask what she meant. She saw it. The first spiral appeared in the park where Mira once played, not in chalk, not in leaves, but in molars, set into the soil, gleaming wet. She pulled Mira close and ran. Through alleys, past flickering streetlights, past neighbors stepping out with umbrellas and coffee mugs, none of them noticing what rose beneath their shoes. The ground twitched. Somewhere, behind a curtain, someone screamed. Anna didn't stop. She reached the building just as the first tooth pierced the parking lot asphalt. It broke through the ground like a tree root, long and curved, twisting upward with pulp still clinging to its root. Then came the second. Then a spiral of them, beneath the elevator shaft, under the tiles of the lobby. Teeth grew like mushrooms, and with them came the chewing, louder than ever before. Wet, rhythmic, eager. Anna pounded on doors. "Get out! Leave now! Don't step on the floor!" But no one listened. An old man chuckled behind his door. The woman upstairs finally snapped, "Huh?" Anna wept. Not from fear, from knowing. They wouldn't understand until it was inside them, until it was chewing from the inside out. The first to go was the neighbor in 4B. She screamed once, then the chewing swallowed the rest. Her apartment door opened on its own. Teeth grew across the threshold, and in the morning, all that remained was a spiral of incisors and a single tongue still twitching. Then came the twins on the 5th floor. They had mocked Anna in the elevator weeks ago, said her incense smelled like graveyard spice. Now their mouths had been torn open, split from cheek to ear, their teeth plucked, cleaned, and arranged neatly on their balcony rail in a perfect spiral. Anna saw the pattern now. Everyone who had dismissed the ritual, everyone who had mocked the warnings, everyone who had thrown the teeth away, their apartments were being eaten, from below, from within. Walls cracked open like jaws, floors buckled and spilled spirals of blood and enamel. The chewing never stopped. It moved from unit to unit, feasting, reclaiming. Mira clung to Anna. "Why is it still happening?" "I don't know," Anna said. "But you gave the name. We bled. I gave my tooth." "You sealed our door," Mira whispered, "but they've been waiting under other doors for too long." Anna understood. She wasn't the only one who forgot. She was just the first. Now Yazael had appetite and a path. The debt was collective. The silence was broken in more homes than she could count. And now came the feast. Anna turned toward the city skyline, and there, on the rooftop of a high-rise in the distance, she saw it. A spiral, formed from the lights of apartments going out one by one, and at the center, the shape of a mouth, wide, open, waiting. The city returned to silence. The chewing stopped. The spirals faded from the walls, the floors, the skin. No more teeth grew from soil. No more knocking beneath beds. For the first time in weeks, Anna could breathe without flinching. She and Mira returned to their apartment. The neighbors greeted them like nothing had ever happened. They smiled, offered soup, laughed at the rain. None of them remembered the spirals. None remembered the screams. It was as if the hollow ones had never existed at all. Anna should have felt relief. She didn't. She felt watched, not by something outside her, but by something inside her daughter. Mira slept soundly now. She laughed again, ate her food, drew pictures of suns and trees and houses. Her new teeth came in straight, clean, perfect. Too perfect. Anna began to notice it in small ways. Mira no longer asked questions. She already knew things.
When Anna picked up the phone to call her sister, Mira would speak the answer before the line connected. When Anna looked at the calendar, Mira would say the date without ever glancing. When Anna woke from nightmares, Mira would already be standing by the door, smiling, waiting. Sometimes she would hum, a slow spiraling tune with no clear beginning or end. And late one night, as Anna leaned in to kiss her daughter goodnight, Mira opened her eyes. "Do you want to hear it?" she asked softly. Anna froze. "Hear what?" Mira turned her head toward the wall, toward nothing. The last whisper. Anna's blood turned cold. "I thought it was over." Mira nodded. "It is, for you." Silence stretched, and then Mira said, "He's inside me now, but he's quiet." Anna's throat tightened. "Why?" "Because I listened." She smiled. "I didn't fight. That's why he let me stay." Anna wanted to cry, but she didn't know what to grieve. Her daughter was alive, whole, but not entirely hers. There were moments when Mira would stop in the middle of coloring, stare at a spot on the ceiling, and whisper, "Yazael likes this one." Or when brushing her teeth, she'd murmur, "Not yet, he is still growing." Anna tried to deny it, tried to pretend the ritual had worked completely. But then she found it, under Mira's bed, a single baby tooth. Not Mira's. It was blackened, the root curled like a hook, the surface carved with tiny spirals. Anna picked it up with shaking hands. It pulsed. She turned to her daughter. "Where did this come from?" Mira looked up. "The next one." Anna backed away. "The next what?" Mira smiled again, so softly, so lovingly. "The next door." And in the silence that followed, Anna heard it. Not loud, not angry, just a breath, drawn in and held, somewhere deep inside her child's chest. The last whisper, waiting. Anna hadn't spoken Mira's name in 3 days. Not out loud, not even in thought. She'd caught herself once, whispering it in a half-dream, and the walls trembled. The spiral on the ceiling, long faded, began to reappear, just faintly, just enough to remind her. He was still listening. He was still inside her daughter, and he remembered names. That was how he survived, how he returned, how he fed. He didn't need bodies anymore. He needed memory. Names were doors. Anna paced the apartment like a ghost, watching Mira from a distance. The girl hummed when she was alone, drew spirals on fogged-up windows, left her baby teeth on the windowsill as if waiting for something to collect them. Sometimes she'd wake up from sleep laughing, and when Anna asked why, Mira would say, "Because he dreams in my name." Anna knew what had to be done. The final rite wasn't in the blood. It wasn't even in the tooth. It was in the name. And what had to be done was forgetting. Not just silence, not just secrecy, erasure. Anna returned to the old village one last time. She walked alone, barefoot through the spiral path. No monsters now, no voices, just wind through bone. The spiral mouth lay closed, but the ground beneath it was soft, waiting. She knelt, took the photo of Mira she had carried in her wallet since birth, and the slip of paper that held the true name she whispered the day her daughter was born, the one that anchored Mira's soul, the one Yazel now held in his jaw like a thread of silk. She placed both into the earth, then took the blade, not to cut, but to carve. She etched the name into the dirt one last time, letter by letter, with tears instead of blood. And when it was done, she wiped it away, slowly, deliberately, until the soil was clean, until no trace of sound remained. Then she whispered, "I release her. I forget her. She is not yours. She is not mine. She is unnamed." The ground exhaled. Somewhere deep below, something cracked. And then, stillness. When Anna returned home, the apartment felt colder, larger, quieter. Mira sat by the window playing with her dolls. She looked up and smiled, but there was a hesitation in her eyes, a pause. "Did you go somewhere?" she asked. Anna nodded. "Yes." Mira blinked, then frowned. "Why are you crying?" Anna wiped her cheek. "I'm just tired, sweetheart." The girl tilted her head. "Sweetheart?" "Yes." The child smiled again, content. No spiral, no humming. Just a girl, playing, without a name. And somewhere, buried in the deepest part of the spiral path, Yazel curled inward, mouth closed, name forgotten, and hungrier than ever, but locked behind silence. For now. There was no more chewing, no more knocking beneath the floorboards, no more spirals on the windows or teeth blooming through the cracks. Just quiet, almost too quiet. Anna woke to birdsong for the first time in weeks. She didn't trust it. She moved slowly through the apartment, barefoot, careful. Every step felt like it might set something off, like the world had become a skin stretched tight over a drum, and somewhere Yaziel still listened for a ripple. Mira, no, the child, was humming a lullaby. Not the spiraled chant, not the name, just something soft, simple, wordless. Anna watched her from the doorway. There was no recognition in the girl's eyes, not in the way there used to be. She smiled, but the smile was clean, not wide, not full of secrets. Anna wanted to believe this was over. She wanted to believe the spiral was broken. But she remembered what the final wall in the chamber had whispered. Chains do not vanish, they stretch. And she could still feel it, in her teeth, a subtle ache, a memory that wouldn't quite leave. She hadn't spoken her daughter's name in days. She didn't even think it now. Every time it tried to rise in her mind, she pushed it down like a sob in church. One night, she dreamed of the spiral again, but this time it wasn't made of teeth. It was made of people, generations, mothers holding children, children holding silence, and one by one, the links in the spiral turned to ash and drifted upward, not from burning, from forgetting. The spiral broke. In the dream, it cracked down the center, and inside the crack was a darkness so vast, Anna felt her bones humming just to stand near it. But the darkness didn't swallow her. It only whispered, "Until someone remembers."
She woke choking on her breath, ran to the bathroom, and there, on the mirror, drawn in condensation, was a perfect spiral. Faint, fading, already melting, but enough. Anna stared at it for a long time, then wiped it away with a shaking hand. The days passed, 1 week, then 2. The girl smiled more, laughed, built towers out of blocks. Her baby teeth fell out like they were supposed to. Anna buried each one beneath the new doorstep. Each time she whispered nothing. No name, no blessing, no song, just silence. The spiral had broken, but she had learned. It didn't die, it only uncoiled. And silence, if stretched long enough, always makes room for sound.
The apartment had been renovated. New paint, new flooring, even the door frame had been replaced with smooth, modern wood. The landlord smiled, proud. "No more weird creaks," he joked. "We sealed everything up. Should feel brand new." Anna nodded politely. She had sold the place months ago, moved far, far away, to a new city, new school, new number. She didn't leave forwarding information. No contact, no trail, just distance. But still, she hadn't thrown away the shoes that stepped through the spiral path. She hadn't washed the knife that once carved her daughter's name into the earth. She hadn't said the child's name again, not once. Even when filling out paperwork, she let the school choose a nickname. Even when doctors asked, she said, "We go by little one. That's enough." It had to be, because the threshold still existed. Not in that apartment, not even in the floor, but in her memory. The crack where Yazael once listened was still there, deep behind her teeth, behind her eyelids when she blinked too long. One day, while unpacking boxes in their new home, she found something strange. A tile, square and cold, wrapped in newspaper. She didn't remember packing it. When she unwrapped it, her stomach turned. The bottom was etched in spirals, small, faint, but unmistakable. She dropped it immediately, called a local priest, paid him to bless the whole house. He did, but as he left, he paused and said something she would never forget. "Most people ask us to bless the walls," he said, smiling. "You're the first to tell me to focus only on the threshold." She nodded once. "Some doors don't open, they just breathe." He didn't laugh. That night, she stood at the entrance to the new home. The girl was asleep upstairs, peaceful, small feet tangled in her blanket. Anna stared at the floor beneath the door, wooden, untouched, still. But she felt it, a soft breath rising up through the grain. Not angry, not hungry, just present. The pact had been sealed, the name buried, the spiral broken. But the threshold remained, and it always would. Not just here, everywhere. Because people will keep forgetting. They will keep throwing away teeth, and eventually, someone will name their child too loudly. The girl lost another tooth. It was her 6th. It came out quietly in the middle of the night, resting gently on her pillow like a pearl from another world. Anna found it at dawn. She picked it up carefully, holding it in her palm. It was small, white, perfect. No spirals, no carvings, no hum beneath the enamel. Just a tooth. Just a piece of her daughter's body naturally given. A sign of growing, of becoming. She should have smiled. She didn't. She carried it outside, barefoot, as the sun broke across the distant hills. The grass was wet, the earth soft. She didn't bury it under the door. There was no ritual, no knife, no chant, just a deep breath and a hole dug with trembling hands. She placed the tooth in the soil, pressed it down, covered it, then sat beside it for a long time. The wind moved through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. The world felt light, real, alive. And beneath her, something shifted. Not a sound, not even a breath, just the feeling of movement, far, far below, of mouths turning, of teeth rearranging. Not rising, not yet, just remembering. Because every tooth holds memory, every bone holds silence, and the earth never forgets a name once it's spoken into it, even if it's buried, even if it's burned, even if it's never spoken again. Hannah stood. She looked down at the spot where she buried the tooth. No spiral appeared, no chewing followed. But still, she whispered, "Please," and walked away. That night, a boy was born in another village. His mother was young, modern, educated. She didn't believe in curses or chants. When his first tooth fell out, she smiled and flushed it down the toilet, laughed. And somewhere beneath their floorboards, the chewing began.